In October 2006, a young woman traveled to Malaysia seeking answers. Days later, she vanished. What followed became one of the most controversial criminal investigations in Malaysian history, drawing international attention, years of legal battles, and countless public questions. Her name was Altantuya Shaariibuu. Nearly 2 decades later, her case remains one of the most discussed true crime stories in Southeast Asia. Altantuya Shaariibuu was a Mongolian national born in 1978. Friends and family described her as intelligent, ambitious, and multilingual. She had traveled internationally and was familiar with different cultures and business environments. In 2006, she arrived in Malaysia amid a complicated personal dispute involving people she knew. What began as an attempt to resolve personal matters would ultimately place her at the center of one of the country's most infamous criminal cases. At the time, no one could have predicted how widely her name would become known. In October 2006, Altantuya was seen in Kuala Lumpur. According to reports, she had been attempting to meet individuals connected to her personal affairs. Then, without warning, she disappeared. Phone calls went unanswered. Friends and family were unable to reach her. As days passed, concern grew. What initially appeared to be a missing person case soon became something far more serious. Authorities launched an investigation to determine what had happened during her final days in Malaysia. The answers they uncovered would shock the nation. Investigators began piecing together Altantuya's final movements. Witness statements, communication records, and forensic evidence became central to the inquiry. As the investigation progressed, several individuals came under scrutiny. The case rapidly gained media attention, with newspapers and television networks covering every new development. Public interest intensified as details emerged and authorities announced arrests connected to the investigation. The story was no longer just a criminal investigation. It had become a national headline. The trial that followed attracted enormous attention both within Malaysia and internationally. Court proceedings lasted for years as prosecutors and defense teams presented evidence and testimony. In 2009, 2 members of Malaysia's security services were convicted in connection with Altantuya's murder. Meanwhile, political analyst Abdul Razak Baganda, who had initially been charged in relation to the case, was acquitted by the court without being called to enter his defense. The verdicts generated significant public discussion. For many observers, the case raised questions that extended beyond the courtroom itself. Even after the trial concluded, public interest in the case never disappeared. Over the years, journalists, legal experts, and members of the public continued to debate various aspects of the investigation and court proceedings. The case became a symbol of broader discussions surrounding justice, accountability, and transparency in high-profile criminal investigations. For many Malaysians, the name Altantuya Shaariibuu remains instantly recognizable. Not only because of the crime itself, but because of the questions and controversies that continued long after the verdicts were delivered. The Altantuya Shaariibuu case remains one of the most significant criminal cases in Malaysia's modern history. A case that captured international attention. A case that sparked years of debate. And a case that continues to be remembered nearly 20 years later. What are your thoughts on the Altantuya case? Let us know in the comments below. If you enjoyed this documentary, Don't forget to like, subscribe, and turn on notifications for more true crime stories from around the world.